Yo, what's going on, guys? And today I want to talk about Archer and season 14 and why I am shocked that they cold canceled. Yes, cold canceled. From what I can gather is this show was cold canceled after a 15-year run, over a decade and a half run. They cold canceled, in my opinion, one of the greatest written animated shows. Obviously the writing had taken a toll, had gone down over the last few years, especially since Adam Reed left. But when I was watching this, I was talking to my girlfriend because I hadn't seen the report when they originally came out. So I saw that when they announced the season, and I didn't know it was going to be the finale until the final season, until halfway through watching the season. I was reading because I kept telling my girlfriend, I was like, oh, this feels like this is going to happen. This is because I thought with the new character that they introduced, they were going to go ahead and, have this whole new saga where Lana steps into the Mallory role and Archer still having his shenanigans as everything that they did. But when we saw at the very end, the way everything turned out was no, this was the end. And I think they wrote this season thinking that there would be another season, but turns out there wasn't, because I felt like Zara was going to replace Lana in the field, so there would still be that Zara and Archer, but the series was canceled. Okay, the series was canceled is from what I'm understanding. So yeah, so they basically, from the way this show ends, okay, or the season ends, you literally think there's another season going on. And from what I've read on Reddit and from what everyone has said, from what the voice actors said during a convention, was basically they recorded all the lines, they recorded the show, and it seems like when they went to announce when the season was going to be airing, they just canceled it. They didn't give them a reason why, and so they canceled the show after season 14 was filmed. That's what the vibe is, okay? We got the vibe that they canceled the show after season 14 was filmed, and then they were like, oh, pretty crappy way to wrap up a show that had a really good run and won many awards. Kind of a really bad way to end the show, so they gave it a special. But that's where we're going to continue to talk. I want to hear your thoughts before we start this video, we're 2 minutes deep, but before we get into the meat and potatoes of this video, do you guys think they did this special? And the way the special was done, it came off as if they're trying to shop this around to other networks and maybe not come back with a show, but do specials every year or every other year, maybe kind of like the South Park style treatment. But let me hear your thoughts and let's get right into it. And I know the fact that they were able to create and produce a series finale special after they found out Archer was canceled during mid-production of season 14, most shows would have just left us with the last episode and just called it a wrap. But this is what we know. A certain article says the show was canned by FXX, not a mutual decision by Reed or the whole crew in FXX. Just Google Archer canceled and start reading. It seems like the show was canceled after the voice actors recorded their dialogue for season 14. Chris Parnell said, quote, "We just started recording season 14, so it remains to be seen what else is going to happen," end quote. It would explain why the last episode just sounds like a normal episode. It's not written by Mark or Adam Reed, and the title is pretty bad for a final episode, Breaking Fabian. And it's just, not me overthinking this. So let me give you guys my whole spiel on what I think. Although we were aware that the conclusion of Archer was imminent for some time, it doesn't lessen the emotional impact of its arrival, that it happened, that it concluded. And I want to share my reflections on that matter. I appreciated the diverse ways in each way we got to cope with the impeding end of their careers. Pam in denial, Zara exploring alternative employment opportunities, Lana attempting a last-ditch effort to salvage everything so she doesn't have to face change, and Archer, well, being Archer, and witnessing them unite for one final time to rectify the situation that they might have created. Even though it technically ended in failure, it was this, poignant moment. In the final setting in Rio de Janeiro and Sochi were visually stunning. It's surprising that it took the show this long to venture to Brazil, and to remind you guys that they do this all in Adobe Premiere Pro. I'm making this video on Adobe Premiere Pro, okay? And it's proved to be such a great backdrop for the episode, such a cool setting going from Sochi to Rio. And Archer's strategic takedown of the gangsters in the warehouse using misdirection and sound was a highlight. The unexpected twist of Slater being behind the bomb plot, although somewhat spoiled by promotional material if you were paying attention. I wasn't, but obviously some people were. it's still a great inclusion. Christian Slater's portrayal remains one of my favorite guest appearances in the entire series. While Katya served as a cool villain, I thought it was a little lukewarm. I wasn't super happy. Her attempt to persuade Archer to like join the dark side for the sake of a peaceful world was cool, but the revelation of, you know, of all the jokes and callbacks from earlier in the series as a long-running joke was cool. Fused with Barry coming in late, especially when they like have this unusual three-way encounter at the end where he's like having, it's weird. It's a threesome where she's inside you. It was funny, bizarre, amusing, but the abundance of side characters and Easter eggs in this finale was remarkable. It was just a really good, like, heartfelt moment, but it was also melancholy at moments because you got to see familiar faces like Milton, Rip Riley, Boris, and the recreation of the opening to the mole hunt, and you know, the discovery of Mr. Tedley's head and the Charlene album and the elevator shaft were all like subtle nods to like dedicated fans like myself. And Lana's heartfelt speech at the end, expressing love and optimism for the future endeavors of everyone, added this incredible touching element in the, you know, the camaraderie that they had, especially with Zara expressing her honor to be among them, was really cool. And it felt like before the show was canceled, they were, like I was saying in the beginning, moving Lana into the Mallory role where she's like kind of micromanaging from afar, and then Zara and Archer were supposed to continue the bickering that Lana and Archer had in the field. That's what I thought was going to happen, and that's what it seemed like they were gearing it up to kind of reinvent the series of how they've always done. So being overall satisfied with the finale, there's still some things I'm ambivalent about. Krieger's role in inadvertently resurrecting Barry felt more like a resolution to a previous cliffhanger rather than an integral part of the current plot. Barry's presence in the agency, unseen and unheard for a significant duration, just raises questions like, oh, everyone forgot that he was just in the break room. Now, I think, you know, Slater and Katya's plan to initiate a new Cold War by destroying a dam seemed kind of like dumb, like, okay. And the UN's decision to shut down private spy agencies lacked the anticipation, because I felt like that was just what they threw. Like they had to, like, I don't like, it was just dumb because like that's how the season ended, and it clearly that's the next season they were probably going to do something else, because this isn't the first time that like they weren't in an agency. So I think when you look at the concluding sequence was, I think, really intense, and it was a clandestine departure to see, you know, Katya leave, and it was a real shock to see that Archer and Lana may never reunite, and Lana has to take on this role of the pursuer, and you know, she was happy that he said something that he should have said 10 years earlier. It was a real touch, like, you know, cool moment, because the breakneck pacing and the occasional like weird moments was due to the fact that I think there are weird moments in this special and the way the show ends, because I don't think the show was supposed to end, and they just did their best to give everybody a true ending. So at the end, I think there also is a world that Floyd County Productions, if they don't get Archer picked up, that Pam and Archer get a spin-off, or there's a spin-off series because they ended with like, oh, we're going to mess up Tangier. But either way, shout out Adam Reed, Matt Thompson, Casey Willis, Matt Gainick, and everybody as we bid farewell to the Danger Zone. And hopefully more cool Archer stories in the future to come. But that's it. Sorry if I rambled on too long. I really like this show. I've watched it too much. I've spent way too much of my life watching Archer, and I really liked it. And I didn't even start watching it until like 2-3 years ago. And it's like one of the greatest shows I've ever seen.